Good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Caupin, and I lead the Analytics Lab, a data science unit within BNP Paribas. And today I'm very pleased to host Franck, Greverie, as we discuss how we make AI real for enterprises. Franck is Capgemini Chief Technology and Portfolio Officer, leading the group's portfolio of offerings, notably on AI, orchestrating pre-sales and solutioning through Center of Excellence and driving technology, innovation, and ventures across the portfolio. Finally, he leads multiple global business lines, cloud infrastructure services, business services, and insight and data, and digital customer experience. Yeah, and Franck has been a member of the group executive board since 2020.
Thank you.
Side note, I haven't checked his TikTok, but I did notice that Franck has already 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. So Franck is also an influencer. Franck, I'm very glad you're here.
I hope to influence you today. So
well, you'll get some more followers at the end of this session. Your experience working with many Fortune 500 companies must give you a unique insight in AI adoption. So I wanted to start with the first question.
Vas-y, hein.
While AI seems to appear everywhere, from your vantage point, in a corporation, what functions and domains are most prone to AI, to be impacted by AI?
So I think the question is interesting because first, I would like us to come back on the AI promise and really what it brings to the table for enterprise. I think it brings four things in reality. The first one and the first promise is that it augments teams. And we do that for enterprise with what we call custom GenAI assistant. The second thing, it enables the hyper-automation of business process operations and IT operations of enterprise. I don't know if you're aware of that, but you know the promise of automation has been here for more than 15 years and rarely delivered because today, in average, the level of automation of enterprise is around 15% with traditional RPA technology. So with AI, there is really a potential to go much further, up to 50%. The third promise of AI for enterprise is that it enables them to release a new generation of products, being physical products or software products. And the fourth promise is that it accelerates research. And so when you see those four promises, there are basically four main domains of applications of AI. Two domains are more on the value side. Clients can change, enterprise can change the experience they're proposing to their customers and proposing new products. So here you're touching about the new generation of touch points, for example. I was with a client yesterday evening, and they have 1,000 websites and mobile applications. And so obviously it changed everything because now all the touch points will become conversational, contextualized, hyper-personalized. It changed also the relationships that enterprises have with their customers because now there is the ability to release a new generation of what we call AI assistant. So you could say AI assistant for medical treatment, AI assistant for makeup, AI wealth management assistant, and so on. So a lot of these. And then in the new generation of products, you have obviously the products that you know as consumers, such as Photoshop, but in the enterprise world, you could have an autonomous system for car. You could have an imaging system in life science. So a lot of new products. And then in research, so still on the value, there is the ability to create what we call co-scientist, which is really the combination of an LLM, so a stochastic dimension with predeterministic algorithms that you have in the scientific world. And those co-scientists are able to create, to help to discover new molecules, so new drugs, new materials, or even new food formula. So it's interesting. So all that is on value, first domain of application. The second domain, it helps enterprise to boost their go-to-market. So in the different dimension, it could be in e-commerce. And in e-commerce, most of you most probably have heard about what we call generative engine optimization, is to make sure that when you're a brand, you are still visible on the commercial AI platforms, such as Perplexity and so on. So it could be interesting for BNPP to check.
I have actually seen some website putting as a side note we are the leading company for ChatGPT. We are the leading company in that specific space, which I thought was really interesting, and it's something that we see happening like in many pages.
Yeah, so that's, I think it's very important, and we got what we call SEO in the web for 15 years, 20 years, and now it's the world of GEO. A lot of projects on that. So all that is on value, and then you have topics which are more on the operational side. It's AI enables for enterprise to hyper-automate business process operations, being at the front, customer operations, let's say marketing operations, but also for mid-office or supply chain manufacturing or all what is back office. And obviously changing completely the IT. The IT world is completely changed, and the ability to modernize much faster an application landscape for an enterprise is very important.
Very, very interesting. And when I'm looking at adoption, so what we noticed is generative AI, as you mentioned, like enables like various applications from marketing to call centers. And also like agentic, I think agentic AI is going to follow the same path. What we see though in practice is that we are getting our staff engaged with this technology through hackathon, ideation, and we can really get quickly to a prototype. But to get like to get to actual results and an ROI, I think some today's CEOs and CXOs are relatively frustrated to haven't yet seen like some of the returns. So I'm just wondering what's going wrong and what should leaders do differently in order to run successful AI transformations?
Yeah, so first, you're right saying that today there is no significant ROI for CXO in enterprise, and there are fundamental reasons for that. Is that when you take a Fortune 1000 company, the complexity that they have to manage is very high, so it takes time to implement AI at scale. But and what we are seeing is that 98% of the POC on AI agents are not going to production. So what are the reasons behind that? So the first thing is, and the first recommendation we are giving to our clients is really stop developing 100 POCs scattered among, 20, 30 different processes, because this will never lead to any return on investment for enterprise. So our recommendation for that is really focus your effort. You pick up few processes, and you focus your effort on defining your use cases along the process to make sure you will get a significant return on investment. So that's the first recommendation. The second thing is that most enterprises have never structured their data, and if you don't have data, you don't have AI. I think it's obvious, but for most enterprises, it was not a big problem at the time of machine learning. But today, if you really want to use Gen AI, and especially AI agent, you need to build an enterprise data model, you need to build data products, really to make it work. So to focus on data is very important. And the third recommendation is focus also on your target operating model. So what are the use cases where you want the AI to lead, really the decision on the action? What are the one where you want a human in the loop? What are the use case where you want human to lead and just being assisted by AI? So all that has to be clarified. So you see the three first recommendations are not technical at all. And so when I see all people jumping into I will develop a POC, which is engineering, in reality, they should first focus on the three first phases. And then in engineering, what we are saying is that don't expect an AI agent developed by an intern in less than 20 minutes using a low-code platform to go to production. Except in very simple cases, it will never go to production. And that's why we have developed the concept of what we call enterprise-grade AI agent, which is important. So when you develop an AI agent in a professional way, it's something much more complex. You have really to define a robust architecture which is key for the enterprise. And the last recommendation is that when you mention a POC, few people are mentioning what we call AI operations. But when you put an AI agent into production or custom Gen AI assistant, it has to be monitored, it has to be assessed continuously, it has to be managed. So that's a world of operations, which is also very important. So that's all the fundamental points. So it takes time. For the moment, it's incremental, but we shouldn't be wrong. The impact will be huge for enterprise, but
so it's a matter of setting up like the right stepping stones to build upon it. Very interesting. So I'm just realizing that here we're in front of entrepreneurs and executives that many of them have like transatlantic ties. And one of the things I was reflecting upon is that today the US is really leading the AI innovation. And I wanted to see from your perspective if you see differences between the US and the EU and maybe competitive advantage in what feels like sometimes with the money involved in it, a bit of an arms race.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, especially because I'm based in New York, but I'm French, as most of you, I think. And when you look to the technology, most of the LLM are developed in the US, even if we have some successful companies such as Mistral, Aleph Alpha, and so on in Europe. So really the epicenter of the ecosystem of LLM is in the US. When you look to AI agents on the AI frameworks, most of them are developed in the US. If you take the one from Google, the long graph, or if you take another one. So you have the basic technology necessary in AI that are more centered in the US. But the reality for enterprise who are applying those technology to their business, it's not so important. Because what is important is what is around the AI. So all the points that I mentioned, the data, the architecture, the way to operate it, is much more important than just the center of the technology. So I think I don't see a disadvantage for Europe compared to the US on that dimension. However, there is something very important in the US, which is the ecosystem around public cloud on the hyperscalers, which is clearly dominant in the US today. So you find a large number of engineers that are really fluent in that, and it's a prerequisite if you want to do AI. Most of the time, you have to use an hyperscaler public cloud, so it's a key advantage. And after, in terms of culture, the advantage of the US, what I see in enterprise is their culture of experimentation, of risk tolerance, that we don't have sometimes in Europe, and you see it, it's a lot about regulation, about compliance, about making sure that our solutions in production will stay stable. So this is really a big difference in the way US companies are moving versus Europe.
Very interesting. So what you're saying is that maybe the large language model itself, the provider will be commoditized, so it won't matter as much. Maybe like there's be like a question of open source versus a closed source model that will drive us towards working with specific hyperscalers. But the platform itself is more important. So therefore, like a cloud and then the hyperscaler themselves have an advantage, for at least for the one that are using it.
At least for the adoption of AI.
For the adoption.
After, you could have some reason. You have a clear advantage if you are in research and you have access directly to the ability to develop some models and so on. And you have also the advantage in terms of sovereignty. The question of sovereignty is obviously a big issue in Europe because we don't have any hyperscaler. So we have to find alternatives to make sure that we can continue to compete on the market globally.
Very interesting. So for this question, I wanted to take the conversation in a bit different direction. And I noticed like a lot of your background is in cybersecurity, which led me to think on AI agents like that we already see scaling and then changing the way we consume information. As a note, Wikipedia reported that we have an 8% drop year on year in visits to their website. And this is mainly due to the fact that people are changing the way they access information. If we want to go further with agents, those agents will have to be able to impersonate either individuals or corporations and work on their behalf to access secure data and potentially make payments. So when I'm thinking about that, I'm just thinking like between AI and cybersecurity, do you see agents becoming the next entry door for the big cyber risks and any advice that you'd give to enterprises?
Yeah, I think it's true for all our companies here. As soon as we will put something into production, so we are putting a new stack, an AI stack, we are putting a new data platform into production, so it increases the surface of attack. And since it comes as a kind of add-on on top of the architecture of enterprise, it really, for me, increases the level of risk. That's just the starting point. Then if you put yourself on the attack side, and I've been working for different companies on that side, on the offensive side, and it's clearly, an average guy today could become a sophisticated hacker, whereas before it was a question of specialist. So really change the game because you could have phishing attacks much simpler. You could create fake. You could create a video fake, as most probably know, in less than 30 seconds. A really good one to interpersonate the people. So, I mean, the level of attack clearly has increased, but also our ability to react to cyber attacks. So, AI is bringing a lot of capabilities in terms of detection of cyber attacks. It's really a game changer in that field, and also in terms of remediation. So it's a battle, continuous battle between the attack and the defense, and but both sides are increased with AI. That's for sure.
So we just have a few minutes left, and I wanted to bring something to a different perspective. And I wanted to get to numbers. I noticed Bain and company estimated that getting a return on current AI investments will require $2 trillion in annual AI revenues by 2030. So $2 trillion is a big number. And just to put things into perspective, if you look at Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, and NVIDIA, their revenues last year was 1.6 trillion, and we're relatively close to the French GDP. So I was just thinking, like, if those new revenues, those 2 trillion, were to be shared to consumers, directly or indirectly, this was like, and assuming that we have 500 million households in the OECD countries.
A lot of assumption to compute.
It's a lot of assumption. But this equates more or less to $400 per month for AI services. So that's actually the price of a car leasing today, just to put things into perspective. What's your perspective? Would you actually pay $400 per month, like for an AI system? And any thoughts on whether or not this is actually going to be adopted at scale?
I think your analysis is a little bit biased, if I may say, because you're speaking about consumer, but there is also the enterprise impact. So maybe the reality is more 200 if you take half for consumer and half for enterprise. But clearly, I think exactly what has happened for the mobile phone or for the different subscriptions that we have to different TV channels and so on. I mean, it will take a very important part of the budget of consumer for sure. I don't know if it will be 200, but honestly, as a consumer, when you have tried a commercial AI platform, it's difficult to imagine to restart without it.
It's interesting.
So I think now the adoption, I think most of the consumers are convinced about the impact. So I don't know if it will be 200 in our budgets, but it will be significant for sure.
Very interesting. Yeah. And so any area where you think those AI assistants will be like more adopted? So I'm thinking like the thing we see the most today in terms of agents are really on the coding space, where some people could be spending thousands. And I do have friends telling me that they're spending thousands on their AI assistant, which impressed me. Or is it going to be like more to the wide sets of consumers to access information and then do things for them?
It's not only information. If you, I don't know, if you use, for example, Photoshop, I mean, you have AI features embedded into it. So now they increase their subscription price to include those features. And it's the case for all the softwares we are using as consumers in our life. So I think it's everywhere. And it's part of the applications that I mentioned. All the brands, for their physical products and software products, will add some AI features. For some of them, it will help them to gain some market shares, but for others, it will help them also to uplift the price. And so it's...
at that one point, gets translated into consumer costs.
That's how I was thinking about it.
That's how I'm thinking about it. No, excellent. I mean, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest today, and this is a very exciting time to work in technology.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very much.